Self-made millionaire. This is the type most people picture first when they hear the word millionaire. The money usually comes from years of work, ownership, investing, or building something that grows over time. Sometimes it begins with a small business, sometimes with a strong career and disciplined saving, and sometimes with a combination of both. What makes this type different is that the wealth was built rather than transferred. There is usually a long stretch where the outside world sees effort before it sees results. In many cases, this kind of millionaire spent years taking risks, learning skills, making mistakes, and slowly stacking progress. It matters because self-made millionaires shape the popular image of financial success, but their stories are often less glamorous than people assume. Behind the label is usually a long timeline of patience, sacrifice, and decisions that look small at the time, but mattered a lot later. Inherited millionaire. This person becomes a millionaire because wealth is passed down through family. That transfer may happen through cash, property, investments, a trust, or a family business. In some cases, the money arrives all at once, and in others, it is structured over many years. What makes this type different is that the starting point is not zero. The person begins with capital already in place, which changes the way life feels from the beginning. Risk looks different when you know there is a cushion underneath you. Opportunity looks different when education, housing, and connections are easier to reach. That does not mean every inherited millionaire is careless or passive, but it does mean the financial foundation was built earlier by someone else. It matters because inherited wealth plays a much larger role in society than people sometimes admit, and it shapes how money, confidence, and long-term choices are experienced from the start. Retirement account millionaire. This person reaches millionaire status mainly through long-term retirement investing. The money usually builds through consistent contributions, employer matching, and decades of compound growth inside accounts such as a 401k, IRA, or similar retirement plan. What makes this type different is the timeline. It is often less about sudden success and more about patience, repetition, and staying invested through many different market conditions. This kind of millionaire may never feel rich in a flashy way while building the money, because the wealth is often locked away for the future and grows quietly in the background. Month after month, year after year, the process looks almost boring from the outside. Still, that is exactly why it works. It matters because this reflects one of the most realistic paths to wealth for ordinary earners who stay consistent long enough. The story is usually not dramatic, but the result can still be powerful. Business owner millionaire. This type becomes a millionaire through ownership in a company. The business may be large or small, online or local, but the key point is that the owner holds equity in something that produces value. Sometimes the business throws off steady cash flow, and sometimes the real wealth appears when it is sold. What makes this type different is that the millionaire status is tied to a living enterprise, not just savings sitting in an account. The wealth is connected to customers, systems, employees, reputation, and the ability of the business to keep working. In many cases, the owner's net worth may look strong on paper, while their day-to-day life still feels demanding and uncertain. A business can create real wealth, but it can also create stress, responsibility, and exposure to risk. It matters because business ownership has historically been one of the strongest ways to create substantial wealth, though it usually asks for more than people first expect. Corporate executive millionaire. This person reaches millionaire status through a high-paying leadership role inside a company. Salary, bonuses, stock compensation, and long-term career advancement all contribute to the outcome. In many cases, the wealth comes from staying in demanding roles for many years while also saving and investing wisely along the way. What makes this type different is that the money is earned from climbing within an existing institution rather than owning one from scratch. The person is usually operating inside a structured environment with titles, reporting lines, and performance pressure, not building a company alone from the ground up. This path often looks traditional on the surface, but it still requires skill, discipline, and the ability to handle responsibility at a high level. It matters because it shows that conventional career paths can still create major wealth, especially when strong compensation is paired with long-term investing instead of lifestyle inflation. Frugal millionaire. This person becomes a millionaire while living far below what others might expect. The wealth may be substantial, but the lifestyle often remains simple. An older car, a modest house, careful spending habits, and a strong resistance to waste are common here. What makes this type different is the relationship to money. The person is not trying to look rich. They are trying to stay in control. For them, wealth is often less about status and more about freedom, margin, and peace of mind. In real life, many frugal millionaires do not stand out at all. They may live next door, go to ordinary stores, and avoid the kind of spending that people usually associate with success. It matters because this type challenges the stereotype that wealth must always be visible. In many cases, the discipline that helped create the million is the same discipline that keeps the lifestyle grounded even after the money is already there. Real estate millionaire. This type builds wealth primarily through property ownership beyond just a primary home. Rental units, commercial buildings, land, or development deals may all be part of the path. Some real estate millionaires focus on monthly cash flow, while others benefit more from appreciation over time as property values rise. What makes this type different is that the wealth is tied to physical assets and often supported by leverage, meaning borrowed money is part of the strategy. That makes real estate powerful, but also more complicated than people sometimes think. Property can create income, tax advantages, and long-term value, but it also brings maintenance, vacancies, market shifts, and financing risk. A real estate millionaire may look wealthy because of what they own, while still dealing with constant operational decisions behind the scenes. It matters because property has created many millionaires, but usually through patience, management skill, and the ability to survive slow years as well as strong ones. Young millionaire. This person reaches millionaire status early in life, often decades before retirement age. The money may come from entrepreneurship, investing, entertainment, technology, inheritance, or an unusual career path. What makes this type different is the timeline. The wealth arrives when most peers are still building their base, which changes the pace and shape of life in a major way. Early wealth can create freedom, but it can also create pressure. Expectations rise. Visibility increases. Identity becomes more complicated. A young millionaire may have more options than most people their age, but they may also carry more uncertainty about what to do next and how to protect what they built. It matters because early wealth changes the choices available to a person, yet it also creates a very different relationship to risk, purpose, and long-term planning than people often imagine from the outside.